Did you know that the governor of California has now officially banned praise and worship music from churches and house of worship? There's no praying and chanting allowed at churches. Well, on today's show, the Bethel music praise and worship leader Sean Feucht joins us to share what he and Senator Josh Howley are doing to fight for your First Amendment rights to peaceably gather.
3, 2, 1, boom! You are now entering the dojo of Mojo and the Thrive Time Show.
Thrive Time Show on the microphone. What is this? Top of the iTunes charts in the category of business. Drilling down on business topics like we are a dentist. Providing you with mentorship like you are an apprentice. And we go so fast that you might get motion sickness. Grab a pen and pad to the lab. Let's get in this. It's time to bear some fruit like some Florida oranges. 3, 2, 1. Here come the business ninjas.
Sonic boom!
Yes, and yes, Thrive Nation. It is always a special occasion when we join with you on the show, and typically it is ecstasy because Z is next to me. But on today's show, Z is out, and so we are doing a special edition of the Thrive Time Show, and we're interviewing a man who is doing positive things in a world where there's so much negativity swirling around, and actual state governments are saying that you cannot sing at church. Actually, the state of California, Governor Gavin Newsom has actually ruled by decree of some kind that you cannot sing in the church service. Now, I think everybody out there is worried about this. We're all concerned about this, but what can we do about it? Well, today's listener, today's guest, he's a guy who's actually doing something about it. Sean, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Oh, thank you so much.
Sean, there's a lot of controversy out there, so we have to get into the difficult topics first. How do you correctly pronounce your last name?
It's Feucht.
Feucht. So people are Google searching right now, Sean Feucht. They're going to find what appears to not be Sean Feucht, but it's Feucht. Now, let me tell you this. I had a listener who brought it to my attention that there's this crazy Sean Feucht guy who, you know Dr. Z very well. It says this crazy Sean Feucht guy, he's calling out Instagram and Twitter for censoring Bible verses and worship videos. And I'm going, is this the same Sean Feucht that Dr. Z speaks so highly of? So let's start with that. What's going on with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and censoring Bible verses?
Well, I mean, it's something that they've been for a long time. You know, they've friends of mine have succumbed to it and have had experiences, and I haven't really had experiences that I knew of until a couple weeks ago. We held a historic gathering of prayer and really a peaceful protest and with a bunch of churches where we worshiped on the exact street corner where George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we captured a video of that I posted on Instagram and on Facebook. And within 24 hours, it was flagged as harmful and abusive content. And people were not allowed to see it. They were not allowed to share it. And it was just crazy. And so, I have some friends of mine that are senators and some people in government. And so we blew the whistle on on Facebook and Instagram. And things got pretty crazy there for a little bit.
Now, I actually wrote a book called Fear Unmasked, which just explains the truth behind the coronavirus, the models that predicted the end of the world that were made by Neil Ferguson that turned out to be impossibly wrong. And essentially, this is what the book's about. But that book got banned from Amazon for hate speech until Elon Musk got involved. So there was a time where you could buy Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf, his playbook for genocide. You could buy Adolf Hitler's book, but you couldn't buy my book, Fear Unmasked. And there was a time where you could go online and watch people beating people on YouTube. You can watch people being beat on YouTube and Twitter, people in these riots, but we couldn't watch you do a praise and worship service at the very spot where George Floyd passed away. Why do you think why do you think this is going on? Sean, tell us, what is your take on why Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram and YouTube are banning or preventing you from being able to share praise and worship on these social media platforms?
Well, I just think it doesn't fit into their narrative. I mean, not only big tech, but, the mainstream media, what they're pushing is the violence and the rioting and the looting. And, they're pushing the all of these fear-mongering narratives. And I think when it comes to something like worship and prayer and peaceful protest and, true reconciliation between, black and white, it's just a narrative they don't want to show because it's not clickbait. It doesn't get the hits, and they actively censor that stuff.
Now, you're mentioning bridging the gap between blacks and whites and people of all different colors. I'm trying to bridge the gap here for the listeners between people with short hair and people with long hair. Sir, at last account, how long was your hair?
I don't know. It's longer than my wife. That's all I know right now.
And is she okay with that? Does she like the long hair? Does she encourage you to cut the long hair? What's going on there?
Well, it was short my whole life. It was short until after we got married, and I thought, I'll just try to grow this out. I'm already married. She stuck with me. And so I went through the awkward bob phase where, you got to wait till the awkwardness till it grows out. And then it turned really curly. And and then I grew it out. And, it's kind of all we've known for the last probably 15 years almost.
Now, you are leading these outdoor praise and worship events. I'm not sure if you derive the strength to do this from your hair, like a Samson sort of thing, but what inspired you to decide to go out there? What decided you to, what encouraged you, or how did you decide to make the call to begin hosting praise and worship outside?
Well, I think it's, when you look at the church has been quarantined. We've been isolated. We've been separated. We've been hidden. And in the face of all this, at the same time, you've seen the racial tension explode, and you've seen all the crazy things happening in our nation. And usually the church is the place of reconciliation, and we're not able to provide that because we haven't been meeting. And then in the face of this, you have crazy, the ban on singing and the ban on worship. And, you have all this insane stuff that's happening.
Well, there's been plenty of singing and chanting at recent protests in California and across the country. Let's discuss the apparent differing standards for religious services versus public demonstrations with Fox News contributor Dr. Marty Makary and the pastor of Dallas's First Baptist Church, Fox News contributor Robert Jeffress. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
From BuzzFeed.
Good to be with you.
The headline, the coronavirus spread in a Dallas megachurch's choir and orchestra. Then it hosted Mike Pence. A group of First Baptist Dallas choir and orchestra members contracted COVID-19 in the lead up to Vice President Mike Pence's visit on Sunday. An infectious disease expert called it appalling. Pastor Jeffress, let me give you a chance to respond.
Look, we take the pandemic very seriously here in Dallas. We had 1,085 new cases today, but we took precautions that we weren't required to for last Sunday. We limited the choir to 50% attendance. We took temperature checks of everyone. We prohibited anybody who had COVID-19 or had been close to somebody who had it from participating. And yet, they criticize us as being spreaders of the disease, and yet they say nothing about thousands of protesters in the streets, packed like sardines together, yelling at the top of their lungs, and I guess somehow they're magically protected from the coronavirus as long as they're damning the police and damning Donald Trump. And look, people say, well, that's outside, that's different. Well, if it's safe being outside, why are they shutting down the beaches right now? The fact is, Mike, any so-called science that promotes protest but prohibits church services is fake science and ought to be rejected.
All right, so Sean, I mean, you're not singing violent lyrics. You're not doing mosh pits. You're just praising and edifying the Lord with songs. Why do you think big tech is banning or preventing or censoring you from sharing praise and worship music?
Because I don't believe that it fits their narrative. you know, they are the story shapers right now of our day, and they're curating a story that's full of fear and paranoia, and that brings division. And our message is opposite. It's of hope. It's of connection. It's of unity. It's of resolution. And it doesn't fit that agenda that they have. And so I think that's why they actively censor people like me.
Now, I think a lot of people out there maybe don't believe that you've actually been censored. You know, I think maybe because they don't want to believe it. You know, this is the kind of thing that you might hear about in the communist USSR or communist China or communist Cuba or communist Venezuela. And I think a lot of our listeners just don't want to believe it. I had heard about this happening, but I mean, you've been in Fox News and a lot of other media publications talking about this. Can you prove that you've been censored, or how have you been able to prove that you've actually been censored?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you follow me on Instagram, it's at Sean Feucht, SeanFeucht. Same thing on Facebook. I have posted the actual screenshots of people that have tried to view this video. Hundreds and hundreds of people this has happened to. So we have the proof. Senator Josh Howley in the Senate, he's posted about my situation. Donald Trump Jr. has posted about my situation. It's definitely credible. And we have the proof that it's happened and still is happening.
Now, tell us about the senator again. What was his name? Some of our listeners aren't familiar with these people. Maybe they want to tell him thank you. Which senator heard about your story?
Josh Howley.
Josh Howley.
He's 40 years old. He's the youngest member of the Senate. He represents Missouri. Got it.
And so we know for a fact that he actually knows of what's going on. Now, what are you hearing is being done? We know President Trump has gone after the big tech companies by issuing an executive order. Do you know what's happening right now? Tell us what you know or what's happening.
Well, I mean, you know, Josh Howley brought. If you Google, you can or YouTube, you can YouTube Josh Howley and Mark Zuckerberg, and he actually called Facebook to the Senate and had a hearing around this exact thing, and really grilled Zuckerberg on the stand, and got Zuckerberg to actually say, yeah, this happens, and we're not really sure what to do, and we have people sometimes that make mistakes, and, you know, they try to kind of weasel their way out of it. But at the end of the day, I think it's important for Americans to know that the First Amendment and free speech is under attack, and it's under attack in very subversive ways that we might not even recognize. And so, yeah, we have to fight back against this, against the censorship, against stories like what happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and what's been happening across America that we've been documenting that doesn't fit the narrative that they want people to see.
Now, Sean, just within the past few hours, Judicial Watch has just reported. They reported that the Facebook Oversight Board that will decide which posts get blocked from the world's most popular social networking website is stacked with leftists, including a close friend of George Soros. And a 60 Minutes interview has surfaced that shows George Soros on video stating at the age of 14 that he was, in fact, a Nazi. Is that shocking to you that George Soros, who is he's spoken on 60 Minutes, there's video footage of him I have seen with my own eyes, stating that he was a Nazi at the age of 14. Is it shocking to you that he is behind the Facebook Oversight Board that will decide which posts get blocked from the world's most popular social networking websites?
It doesn't shock me, unfortunately.
So you have our attention, and my goal for this show is to always shine a light onto whatever God wants me to shine a light onto at that given moment. And so for whatever reason, you're on the show, you're stuck with me, I'm giving you the microphone, and I'm asking you, what can our listeners do? I mean, we don't want to be just a hearer of these words. What can we do? What do we need to do to support your cause, to stand up for our personal freedoms? What can we do? If I'm being banned, because right now I am currently banned from Facebook. At this very moment, I am currently banned from Facebook. Who can we get this information to?
Well, working right now. Actually, I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. tomorrow. I'm going to be with a meeting in the Senate building, which, because of COVID, they're not letting a lot of meetings happen. But this has reached a place, religious liberties, First Amendment. This has reached a place of priority among the senators that I'm actually going to represent people like you, people like myself, other people that are Christians, other people that have been censored for conservative views. So my encouragement to people would be to, for me personally, follow our journey, engage with us, follow me on Instagram, on Facebook. We also have a political action kind of group that we started called Hold the Line. That, basically we want to hold the line on these values. We want to hold the line on the Constitution, and follow us there. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram if you search Hold the Line, and join with us. Petitions.
What is the website if we want to if we want to sign the petition?
You can go to our website is holdtheline.live.
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 Got it.
And you can find out about we have some various petitions. One of them that we have is called Let Us Worship, and it's basically a petition against big tech censorship of worship and prayer, and it's against the ordinances happening right now across America, specifically California, that's banning the religious liberty guaranteed in the Constitution by not letting churches sing.
Now, I have two final questions for you here. Recently, there's been a lot of proof that former Vice President Biden has spent a lot of time in China, and his son, Hunter Biden, has all sorts of connections to China, and Governor Gavin Newsom in California has a lot of money flowing out of the state to China. And the National Institute of Health, which is headed by Dr. Fauci, that they've had 54 scientists fired for failing to disclose that they are working with communist China. And when you go to China, you're not allowed to, peaceably gather. You can't do praise and worship. Recently, Black Lives Matter. We all agree with the sentiment, Black Lives Matter, but it's been discovered that Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matters, the organization, is actually funded by radical left people who are Marxists or communists. Is it shocking to you that all of these people that are persecuting your religious freedoms and our First Amendment rights to peaceably gather have strong connections with communist China? Is that shocking to you, Sean?
Well, I think I've actually spent time worshiping in China, and even in Tiananmen Square, and the Chinese police pushed us out, and we had a there, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I feel like that controlling thing. I think it's just over one nation. I mean, it tries to creep in on freedoms across the world, and there's an agenda on it. And so, even though some of these people might not be Chinese or might have not grown up communist, they're carrying that same controlling thing on them that we see exhibited in those nations.
Do you think that as a Christian, you have to be in favor of freedom? Because as I understand it, as our Constitution essentially states that we derive our rights, our freedoms, from God. And then the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, simply upholds those freedoms that are God-given. Do you believe that you can be a Christian and actually a believer and be opposed to freedoms?
Well, I don't. The two are hard to reconcile. I think that there is a lot of believers around the world. There's millions of Christians all over the world that don't know what it's like to live in a free society or a free nation. A lot of those countries I go and visit, a lot across the Middle East, a lot in Southeast Asia, and they're persecuted, and they know that that's going to happen to them. I think in America that we've gotten really soft and really used to it. We've taken it for granted, so a lot of us have stopped fighting for it. But, a lot of the global church doesn't actually even know what it's like to live in a country that's free.
Wow.
but I do believe that there's inherent connection in the Constitution to our God-given rights, and that's essentially what, God gave us the right to free speech, and the government upholds that, but that came from God, and so I think that there's definitely a correlation. Unfortunately, a lot of the world doesn't live in that reality.
I know the listeners want to get involved and get involved. So you're saying the best way to get involved with your organization is to go to holdthelinelive.com. Is that the place? Is that the best place?
Well, there's two websites. They can go to seanfeucht.com. So SeanFeucht.com. They could search for us on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. We're everywhere. Or they can also visit our my political activism website, which is holdtheline.live.
Holdtheline.live. And again, if we go to holdtheline.live, what do you want us to do? Like, what do we need to do?
Sign the petitions. See where our gatherings are. We're doing these huge gatherings. We had one last night in Washington Square in New York City. Hundreds and hundreds of people showed up, and we worshiped, we prayed, we actually blessed the NYPD, the police officers that were there that have been getting so much hate lately. We rallied the church together. Tonight we're going to be in New Jersey. Next week we're going to 5 cities across California, so you can find out all that information on those websites. Come and join us. Sign the petition. Donate to the cause of freedom, to what we're fighting for. Follow us on social media. Follow us as we go into the Senate building tomorrow.
Amen.
We'll be doing some live updates there.
And if a listener out there, myself, we have so many listeners that will email me about this, but if we have a listener out there that is being banned or censored from Facebook or these sorts of things, should they email screenshots of this to anybody? Is that something you need at this point, or do you have so much evidence at this point, or do you maybe don't need more?
I mean, we always take more to build our case. We do have a lot of evidence, and we do have a form on holdtheline.live where they can fill that out and they can show what's happened. And, as I mentioned, I'm actually going tomorrow into the Senate building to talk about this very thing. So if people have experience that, we'd love to hear from them.
And I'm not trying to grill you on this. I'm just trying to make it very easy for our listeners to do this. I'm on the website right now, and I'm kind of navigating. I'm on the homepage here trying to, and then is there like an email address where you send proof that you've been blocked from social media, or where do you do that?
There should be a contact. There
kind of a
contact link on there.
Got it.
And on either of those sites, and they could just email that in, and it would be great.
Got it. Awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate you so much. My motive, for having you on is to share the truth and to get it out there. Why are you standing up for religious freedom? I guess that's my final question for you. Why are you doing this?
Well, I'm doing it because I have 4 kids, ages 9, 7, 5, and 1. And, as they grow up, I want them to be able to grow up in the same amazing liberties and freedom that I did as I was a kid. I want them to experience the best parts of America, and just as there was people that came before me that fought for it, I want to fight for it for them.
Well, brother, I appreciate you. I don't wish you the best. I pray for the best, because I know that in that controversial book known as the Bible, in Matthew chapter 17, verses 18 through 21, I'm going to skip ahead to verse 19. So this is Matthew chapter 17, verse 19. It reads, "Then the disciples came to Jesus in private and asked, 'Why couldn't we drive it out?' And he replied, 'Because you have so little faith. Truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. However, this kind does not go out except by prayer and fasting.'" What we're talking about, folks, in that Bible verse is that in this particular, if you just open up your Bible, I know it's a controversial idea, but you open up your Bible to Matthew chapter 17. There's a story there where Jesus has to actually cast out a demon. And right now, folks, we are in a battle of good versus evil in America. I mean, you have George Soros backing Black Lives Matters. You've got China heavily involved in our health department. We've got misinformation everywhere. You've got the mainstream media refusing to report the truth. They're focusing on the number of cases and not the number of actual deaths, so that way they can continue to scare you. There is just a lot going on out there, and I'm just telling you, folks, we need to be praying right now and fasting. Prayer and fasting. Open your Bible to Matthew chapter 17, verse 21. Sean, just thank you so much for being on today's show. I'm standing in agreement with you, and I really do believe this is going to be a breakthrough moment for you and in America. So thank you for standing up for what's right.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Take care. Wow. Folks, I think if anybody would have told you last year that during late July 2020, praise and worship music would be censored off of Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and that actual singing in actual churches would be banned, and that your rights to peaceably gather at a church or house of worship would be infringed upon, but that you could freely go out and riot, and you'd actually be encouraged to do so, that mayors and governors would be cheering for people tearing down statues, and statues, by the way, of Abraham Lincoln, and statues that are many of the statues that were torn down are statues paying honor to men and women, both black and white, who've died serving our country. Abraham Lincoln, I mean, what in the world? I mean, I think you would have thought I had written the script to a bad movie. And I'm telling you, folks, we can't just turn a blind eye to it. You have to get involved, and you've got to let your voice be heard before your voice will be silenced. So I encourage everybody to go to holdtheline.live.com. That's holdtheline.live. That's holdtheline.live is what the website is. Holdtheline.live. Go there right now. Sign the petition. Get involved, folks. This is your time to shine. You've got to let your voice be heard. Do it. Go there right now. Holdtheline.live. Share your story about censorship. Our elected officials are fighting for you, but you have to get involved. You have to share. If you've had any of your posts blocked from Facebook, go to holdtheline.live to share that story today. And now, without any further ado, we'd like to end each and every show with a boom, because boom stands for big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum. And that is what you and this world needs right now. Please, Jesus, help us. We need your help. And now, without any further ado, here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom. As a little bonus encouragement for you, Kanye West recently became a Spirit-filled Christian, and he's decided to let his voice be heard. And he's working on a new album with Dr. Dre. You know, Dr. Dre, the gangster rapper. He's been working with Dr. Dre on a new album called Jesus is King 2. And some portions of the new album have been leaked or released on the internet. And I encourage everybody to purchase that album as soon as it becomes available. But this is a little excerpt from the new song titled New Body. This is Kanye West featuring Ty Dolla $ign, and I hope this song blesses you.
Like Christ on the throne, all glory be to God, hallelujah, carry on. Can't wait to see a nobody. Let the Lord of love be a nobody. You've been born again and you're nobody. And so it's on again and you're nobody. Whoa. Nobody rebirthing all. Lord, I give my life to you, you deserve it all. Now when duty calls, I ain't perfect. I know sometimes I get weak, but it's worth it. You're the one I big up, never give up. Only thing I'm trying to do is get them sins up. Look up at the scoreboard, I know that you won. It doesn't matter how they come if they too young. Cause every last one gon' be returning. And that's the message that we take from every sermon. That's why I'm turning to your commandments. Cause in the end I know you never leave me stranded.